Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this very interesting little watch here. This is the Orient Watch's Bambino. That's right, this little baby is a very interesting piece, and I'm looking forward to taking a look. But first off, I want to give some thanks to my buddy Josh over at the Journey Win Junk blog. He does great reviews and sent this guy along for me to take a look at, so thanks for that. Next thing, size comparison here. Here it is first off against a relatively inexpensive piece. This is the Casio F91W. As you can see here, this is, well, there you go. Next thing, here it is against the Orient Mako, also from Josh, and so you can see here that they're very similar in size, although the Bambino looks a little bit bigger as a result of the fact that it doesn't have a diver's bezel. This is a watch that is markedly bigger, the Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean here. You can see it is thicker as well in a pretty substantial way, so there's that. And then finally, here it is against the Citizen BM8180, which is a very commonly recommended watch around this price point, at least by me. So there you go, and then let's actually take a couple of quick measurements here. Use my little caliper here. We are coming in right around 41 millimeters overall, coming in right around, let's see here, closer to 36 millimeter face on it. The lug-to-lug distance, which is really important for people with smaller wrists like me, comes in around 46 millimeters here, which is not a bad thing at all. And then overall thickness, including crystal, comes in around 12 millimeters. So that's a helpful thing to know. Oh, and then of course your bandwidth on this guy, as opposed to on the internet connection. I'm measuring it here around 21. It may actually be 21. It may be 22. Yeah, let me see if I can get a better sense of this here. No, it's looking like to be about 21, 22, someplace in there. But either way, even with 21, most 22-inch bands will compact a little bit. So that's good. And then finally, a quick note, who the heck is an Orient? Well, Orient is a company that is owned wholly by Seiko Epson, a major Japanese country. See, it's got Epson on there, except the printer cartridges for this guy probably aren't that expensive. But anyways, it's a Japanese company, but yeah, there you go. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the good, the great, the bad, the ugly of your Orient little Bambino here. First off, on the good side, this actually, the strap looks very attractive. They've got kind of a faux crocodile thing going on here. This is genuine leather, which generally doesn't mean all that much, but at the same time, you know what, it works, it looks good. On this strap, this guy looks absolutely fine. Looks classier than I think a lot of straps do, so there you go. That's always nice. Next thing, this has a reasonable in-house movement. This is the Orient Caliber F6722. It is an automatic watch, which means there's a little weight in here that rotates, and keeps this watch wound on your wrist. It is a hand-winding watch, so you can also turn the crown here to wind the watch up a little bit. It is a hacking movement, which means that when I pull this out all the way, watch, second hand stops, which allows you to very accurately set the time. And then it has a quick set date feature, where if I pull to the first position here, I can move the date forward and backwards by 1 hour, by 1 day very, very easily, which is good if it's been off the wrist for a little while. It's a lot less turning that way. And so this movement is very good. In fact, it has a lot of the features that you don't find on inexpensive, say, Seiko mechanicals, so that's good. Next thing, this does have a date window here. You can see right now, well, I changed it so it looks like it's the 28th. It's actually 27th, but look, it's good. It's readable. It's a little bit recessed, I'll say that certainly, but the date window is good, and a date window, at least to me, is always a wonderful thing. Next thing, the size on this is very nice. Like I said, it is relatively thin. It is relatively small, and in a world where watches are increasingly dinner plates, a half an inch thick, damn it, Omega, but this is a much, much nicer size. This will work very well on pretty much anybody's wrist here. Like I said, I've got about a 6.5-inch wrist here, and you can see here that absolutely this is not overwhelmed by my wrist, and it's not overwhelming my wrist either. This works really, really nicely, and that's something I very, very much appreciate. Then finally, on the good side, this has great value to it. I'm seeing these online someplace between 120, 140 bucks, and you know what? That's really well done. For the amount of money that you're getting here, you're paying here, that is, you're getting a fair amount of finishing and whatnot. This feels like a pretty good value to me. Absolutely 100%. So that, to me, is the good. It's got a great value to it. It's nicely sized, a date window, a reasonable in-house movement. The strap it comes on is actually reasonably nice with, by the way, an Orient-branded buckle there, although it's nothing to write home about. On the great side, to me, is honestly just the looks. This is a very, very nice-looking watch here. I've had my lights turned down a little bit more. just because it is so reflective. But you can see here that the dial itself has a little bit of sunburst to it. Here, let me try and bring a flashlight in it from the side, and you'll be able to see that maybe a little bit better. But either way, it looks like a very, very nice little dial here. Then you get the very blue hands, which is absolutely beautiful. I mean, seriously, they're hard to show off the true extent of the gorgeousness here, but they do look great. And it's not like a painted blue. It is like it's like a chemical blue. It's like a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's not the same thing, I think, as like blued screws, but still, absolutely looks great. You'll see that every one of the indices, every one of these hour numbers is actually applied. It's a little tiny piece of metal that is on here that's reflective and differently done, which I appreciate very much. The polishing on the whole is very nice. I mean, if you look at the outside of the case here, you can see it's very nicely polished. The crystal is beautifully domed here, even the back side of it, which is, I'll give you, probably the weakest part of it, but it still looks fine. You know what? This honestly looks a lot better than its price tag, and considering some of the cheapy-looking watches you can get from other companies, particularly Swiss folks in this price range, this is actually pretty solid. So to me, at least, that's what's great, is even though you pay it $150 or so max, you're getting something that looks very, very, very nice and is really, frankly, quite nicely finished. I mean, even look at the Orient logo here. I'll zoom in a little bit further. I mean, even that's applied. Come on, guys. That's kind of nice. So, to me, that's the great, is it just looks really great, even though it's not so pricey. Bad side. First off, something that is not actually bad, but is kind of interesting. Take a look at this. This is the 4 thing. The thing is, usually 4 is written IV. But it's actually a funny story. Apparently, people were, Roman people mostly, were hesitant to put the name of the god Jupiter on a sundial, or at least to put letters from the name of the god Jupiter, which would have been IV. There's the start of Jupiter, because I think it was Iapetus or something like that. Either way. And so early on, there was a superstition that prevented them from using IV on sundials, which is kind of entertaining, and that's stuck through here. As a result, it's sort of a non-canonical Roman numeral, but it's got history, so whatever, not a big deal. Next thing, the logo on this guy is a little bit busy. I mean, seriously, what is going on here with this? Maybe there's a pair of lions. Those could be firefighters. Maybe that's a truck. I don't know what's going on with this logo, but whatever it is, I don't fully understand it, and as a result, it's a little too small to be that busy. So there you go. Next thing, I'm not a big fan of the water-resistant text on here. To start with, it's really not that water-resistant. Frankly, it's barely water-resistant at all. But at the same time, why do you have to write that on there? I think this could have been much nicer with just Orient at the top here on them. But I'm backseat design and whatever, not a big deal. The strap on this guy, next thing, is actually not all that great in some ways. It's very, very stiff, which given would probably wear in over a great deal of use and whatnot. But at some level, it doesn't feel like a great leather strap. I've had some great leather straps. This is not one of them, but again, it's a relatively inexpensive watch. I'm not a big concern here. Next thing, the mineral crystal on this guy. This is a very heavily domed crystal, and it is also mineral, and so this means 2 things. A, it means you get a lot of distortion in some areas here. I mean, you'll see as I'm kind of moving this guy around, there's a lot of visual distortion that goes in because of this doming here. But more importantly, the fact that it is a mineral crystal means this is going to take scratches much more readily than a sapphire crystal will. This is just a simple fact of life, and something you're going to want to keep in mind. Next thing, this guy has a very loud rotor. Let me see if I can try and do this. And by rotor, I mean the part that spins around in the back that does the automatic movement. Let's see if we can hear this. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Phone microphones can be pretty good at canceling that out, but it is absolutely a thing, and it is absolutely loud, and it's scratchy, and frankly, you feel it. As this guy is on your wrist, you feel that kind of in the back there. Doesn't really do it for me, and similarly, speaking of awful feels, winding this guy feels terrible. I mean, comparing that to winding a higher-end piece, and I don't even mean like super higher-end, I just mean like one step up. This feels like, oh God, every time I was winding it, it was just like, this has got to be hurting this watch. And even when it's from a dead stop, it felt awful, awful, awful. This is a sign, kind of a subtle sign of a great watch movement, at least in my mind. If you go to a store and you wind a Seiko and you wind a Rolex right next to each other, one of them is going to feel like super smooth, the other's going to feel like, and this is the kind, and I'm not a big fan of that. But that's not really super mattering. One thing that is going to super matter for everyday life, potentially is water resistance. This is a 3 atmospheres or 30-meter water resistance. And that you may be thinking to yourself, well, Nick, 30 meters, that's awfully deep. Why does it actually matter? That's fine. But the problem is 3 atmospheres basically means this watch is splash proof. The way that these ratings are done, you can't really trust those numbers. This will probably be fine if you're washing your hands and you get some water on it. Or maybe if you get caught in a rainstorm, your watch is probably going to be okay. But this is not something you could swim with. I mean, obviously, it's a leather strap dress watch. That's not a big deal. But this is just something that is very vulnerable to water. That's just something you have to keep in mind and know. And so, unfortunately, that's not great, though. And especially as the seals age, it will become even less water resistant than it is today. Ultimately, I like better. I like to see better water resistance than this. And, that's not great for me. And so those are the bad things to me, is that the water resistance is just basically not there, even though they feel the need to put a bunch of it on the case there. It has an awful winding feel, a loud, scratchy rotor. It's a mineral crystal. The strap isn't all that great. It's okay, I guess. It's got a very busy logo on it, and it is using the 4 notation rather than the IV, which is fine if you want to not anger Jupiter. On the ugly front, to me, this guy is not particularly accurate. Wearing this guy, doing some testing, this came in at plus 8 to 10 seconds per day. That's not great. This is why I mentioned that quartz is just generally, better speaking, the better choice for an inexpensive watch. This guy will gain 10 seconds or so a day, which means that at the end of the week, you're a minute fast. And that's just not acceptable. A watch has exactly one job, and that is to keep the time. That's why you wear a watch. And unfortunately, this one is not really doing its duty very well. I understand that mechanical watches are inherently a little bit less accurate, at least on the inexpensive side. And certainly a more expensive mechanical watch can do a great deal better, like this little Omega here, which is stopped because I haven't been wearing it for a little while. But still, that's a really, really important thing to keep in mind. If you're needing accuracy, oh, by God, you need to do a little bit better than this guy. So ultimately, that to me is what's ugly, is that this is a watch. It has one job, to keep the time, and it's doing that in such a way that it's going to be a minute fast a week, and I'm not loving that whatsoever. But final conclusion-wise, look, I think this is a great dress watch. For somebody who is, but more specifically, it's not like a great dress watch for somebody who's in a dress watch every day. Instead, this is a great dress watch for somebody who doesn't need a dress watch all that often. If you're like me, where most of the time you're going through life, you're wearing something a little bit more sporty. You're wearing, I got a little diver or something like that. You're wearing your Orient Mako most of the time. But you maybe want a dress watch for fancy occasions. This is a really good choice because it's inexpensive enough that you're not tying up thousands of bucks in a watch you wear once a month or something like that. But when you do take it out, it looks classy. It wears very, very well. It goes under a shirt cuff, no problem, unlike some watches we may know here. The finishing is good enough that you can still feel really nice about it. This is a well-finished watch, certainly exteriorly, 100%. And you know what? Mechanicals are really nice for rare use. If you've got a watch that you're only going to wear every so often, the nice part about a mechanical watch is that you can always wind it up and it will always run. As opposed to a quartz watch where if you haven't worn it in a couple of years, battery's dead. Or frankly, even if you have worn it in a couple of years, your battery might die and that's going to be a problem for you. And frankly, if it's a watch that you take out of the safe, so to speak, you put on your wrist for, 2 nights a month, and then you put it back in the safe, the accuracy doesn't matter because you're not going to be wearing it long enough for it to drift away. And so in that domain, this is really great. But of course, it's not without the flaws. I mean, if this is your only dress watch, if you wear it all the time, it's not as good because the movement is fine, but it's kind of unimpressive in terms of the winding, in terms of the gear, the rotor thing. It's got a mineral crystal, which is going to take scratches really readily. The accuracy isn't so good when it's on your wrist day in and day out. I mean, seriously, a minute a week is nothing to scoff at here. And 3 atmospheres, although it's absolutely fine for a cocktail party in terms of water resistance, is just not going to be great. It doesn't give you much margin of error there. And so if you're looking to own exactly one watch and you want it to be a little dressier, honestly, the disadvantages here grow a lot bigger, and I aim a little bit higher here. Or frankly, I'd go quartz because you'll get a lot more watch for the same price. But the thing is, aside from the things that, bug me at a subtle level, doesn't have lume, those kinds of things, but you don't need that on a dress watch. I'm actually a lot more impressed by this watch than I expected to be. I mean, sure, it's not going to knock the Rolex president off of somebody's wrist. The thing is, it remains an absolutely great piece. piece. There's a lot of joy in it here, and frankly, I find myself liking this watch much more than I expected. And so for somebody who needs a dress watch all the time, absolutely, you'll want to do a little better than this one. But for somebody who needs a dressy watch rarely, I think that the Bambino here will baby your wrist for years to come. Hope this has been interesting to you, that I was able to orient you properly to the functions of this piece, and that you have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.